You're in your office in the West Bloomfield Township Hall. That's a step in the right direction. And we
Yes.
heard that you had a meeting last week and you were talking about when the time comes, some procedures and plans to start opening things up. That's a good sign.
We're very pleased, Dave. The chronology is as follows. Next week, the department heads will be working full-time at Town Hall. As of now, some of them have been working outside of Town Hall, but we want everybody here beginning next Monday from a department head stature, including the supervisory staff. And that would be May 4th. May 11th, the regular township employees will be reporting. Some of them have been working out of Town Hall. Others have been working remotely, and others have been on call. So all staff must report to work on that's May 18th. May 11th is department heads returning. We haven't set a date yet, Dave, for the public to be able to gain access to the building. The earliest date would be Tuesday, May 26th, the day after Memorial Day.
All right, and we're waiting. Are we waiting for changes from the governor's office as to when we can open up our municipal buildings around the area, or is that already been approved and we're just working on implementation plans?
It depends how you interpret it, but regardless of whether now we can return staff or whether we have to wait for approval from the governor's office, by May 26th, all the municipal buildings will be occupied. People will be working from their buildings. And I don't know if you want me to delve into this, but we have strict rules that we are going to impose regarding public and staff in terms of safety measures.
Well, you could talk about it, Steve Kaplan, because we got the time. That's what this show is all about. This is not, we don't have to get to a commercial break. So yeah, let's take the time and take a look at it. And I'm sure what you're doing is going to be mirrored all around the area too. Other people are probably going through the same thing. So I think everybody would enjoy hearing what kind of plans you put in place in West Bloomfield.
Well, Dave, at the risk of offering accolades for ourselves, we have been ahead of the curve in terms of we formed a committee a month and a half ago and it revolved around what are we going to do when we're back at Town Hall? What are the procedures? What safety measures are we taking? We also were one of the first communities in the Tri-County area to form what's called an EOC, an Emergency Operations Center. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're not asking for compliments from the public for doing the work that we have been hired to do. But be assured that we have taken into account commentaries by experts, writings by experts. We've consulted with medical staff, and we know now, thanks to all of our experts, the ideal setting here at Town Hall and other township buildings for our public to be safe, because nobody wants to enter a public building and be exposed to disease. And our staff deserves not to be concerned about contracting the virus. So as humanly possible, we have invoked measures where our staff and our public can be safe.
Steve Kaplan is the West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. Steve, it's really warmed my heart over the past month and a half to, head to various businesses around our area and see how they've all creatively made it work. People have been really innovative, putting up plexiglass in areas at checkout counters. And I went to a carryout restaurant. They took their whole entrance and they reconstructed their whole entrance so you couldn't come in the restaurant, but they had a really nice window configuration, kind of like a slider thing like you have at the drive-up bank window. I mean, people have been really innovative, trying to figure out ways to protect themselves and put a lot of planning into it. They're doing it in the business community, and it's really good to see that you're doing the same kind of thing to make sure that we can get things open. Because, the simple solution would be to just leave everything closed forever, but that isn't going to do any good, right?
But Dave, your observations are astute. The businesses in the area, these restaurants that are still providing carryout and delivery and curbside service, most of them are not making money. Most of them are operating in the red. Of course, there's an exception for a business which is essentially carryout anyway, like a Jet's Pizza or Little Caesar's Pizza. The point is that many of these proprietors, Dave, are continuing to operate. Sure, they want to stay viable. They don't want to close and then have to reopen, but they're also providing a service for their staff, because the staff would be unemployed. I know unemployment is available, but most people want to work. And they're also providing a service to the community. And so for those business people, we are very appreciative.
Well, absolutely. They've been doing a great job, and and plus they've been feeding us, and we appreciate it. And to some degree, everyone has been working. Not only the first responders, but everyone who's been working the last couple of weeks has put themselves at some level of risk of getting out there. So it's good. Things are beginning to get under control. How's it been working, Steve? We've not talked a little bit. How's it been working over the past couple of weeks and maybe over the past month, trying to run a township through Zoom meetings and other operations with almost everybody at home and your staff?
We have an information technology department overseen by Harry Palmer, full-time employee, and they're really peerless. I can't imagine an IT department anywhere which is superior to ours. But everybody's resilient. We know we're here to serve the public, but we're human. We make mistakes. But what we're trying to do is provide the best services we can. Civic Center TV has been good to the township in terms of providing shows like this and scrolling information. So I think many members of the public are tuning in to Civic Center TV and 89.3 FM for information they can't find elsewhere.
No, it's of course, because these broadcasts are so outstanding, Steve. No, I'm just kidding. But no.
But Dave, but people have a need to know. They want to know. And when they call town hall, even when the building was closed to the public, we had staff members answering the phone. And I think individuals are assured that when local government is operating, they know that they could provide benefits to them. And of course, we're operating closely with the county and with the state.
Well, and you just said an awful lot right there, Steve. I think it's not just the functioning of local government that's important to people, getting the things done that they need to get done. Some of those suspended, some of those things are going to get back. But it sends a message of confidence, I think, to people that are trying to deal with this crisis on their own, to see that the whole world's not falling apart. If you think your local municipality or your fire department or your police department or even your local restaurant, they're just throwing up their hands and they just can't deal with it, then it doesn't give you a whole lot of confidence. And every time I turn around the corner, I see a fireman, a EMS person, the folks that I see at Town Hall in West Bloomfield and our communities all around Oakland County. I see these people doing amazing work, and then I hear, from the fire and police departments and the school districts that everyone's getting together on the phone and sharing notes. So I assume you've been talking to other folks in other municipalities and sharing some ideas and having dialogue with them to help get through this.
A sign of intelligence of an individual is to appreciate those who know more and capitalizing on that knowledge. So we're active here in the Michigan Township Association. That's a statewide agency. Also Oakland County Supervisors Association. And we meet, we talk by Zoom, and we gain ideas from them, and we hope we offer something that might be somewhat intelligent. But the fact is, Dave, I want to go back to the point of there are individuals living alone, maybe widows or widowers, and they're essentially senior citizens, and they are ensnared in their condominiums or apartments or homes or in the living facilities. And when they can call town hall and somebody is friendly, how you doing, be well. I mean, just the isolation, Dave, has to be terrorizing or terrible to the average person.
Well, it is, and that's why we keep reminding people to take a moment or two and call somebody that you might know is alone. Steve, I know you do a great job. I've sat in your office and watched you pick up your phone an awful lot, and I know you enjoy talking to your constituents. But yeah, especially right now, you probably get some phone calls from some people that need something, but they probably also just want to hear a friendly voice on the other side of the phone.
Well, thanks, Dave, because they don't know whom to call with respect to an animal license, a fallen tree, a dead deer. They don't know, or a tree overlapping on
Sure.
somebody's property. They don't know the person to call. So if we're not the proper agency or governmental entity to resolve the problem, Dave, we know to whom to refer this issue.
One of the things as we untangle all this mess, it certainly has had the coronavirus with so many people out of work has certainly had a negative impact on our economy and a negative impact, unfortunately, on taxes and the taxes of the state, federal government, and I assume on some level the local government has been collecting. Are you beginning to have conversations about what's going to happen fiscally, how this is impacted the financial future of West Bloomfield, and we're probably in the same boat with a lot of other communities, and start to deal with those issues, or is that a little bit down the road?
We have been discussing, and thanks for asking. For example, property values. One doesn't know whether property values will decline into next year, but if so, we would have a declining or diminished revenue base. Also, the main concern for us is we received $5.9 million through the state of Michigan in revenue sharing, about $1.475 million per quarter. And with sales taxes decrease, we will receive less from the state. But Dave, we're a very prudent government. This goes way back to the 1960s. West Bloomfield Board of Trustees, regardless of the personalities who have served the public, almost uniformly, you have conservative people monitoring the money, the funds. So Dave, we are not extravagant. We have a healthy fund balance. What we want to avoid at some point, if there's a downturn in the economy, even more of a downturn, we don't want to lay people off because our staff, they're part of the family. And so we owe it to them to be prudent, fiscally prudent in terms of how we marshal our funds.
Well, and I know you do a great job. I know you do a great job in West Bloomfield, and I don't know if you want to comment on this, but I'm sure that's not the case in every other municipality. Many of them probably to no fault of their own. They just don't have the economic base and property values. But you look at, communities like the city of Detroit and Pontiac and other communities that don't have the property values that you have in West Bloomfield, and they may have a handful coming up. Do you think that we'll see municipalities that are going to have to go into bankruptcy and face other issues like that, or do you think that won't be a problem around the state of Michigan?
I don't see bankruptcies occurring, maybe in some isolated areas, but for example, a municipality can take the view of we want a 10% fund balance or a rainy day fund, and we're going to spend our money and we'll keep the 10%. So let's say this building, we can add on to the building, we can construct a new building. Town Hall was built in 1988. It's been 31 years. The building is doing just fine. We maintain it. The fact is, there are many things we would like to do. We would like to buy new vehicles for our staff. We have about 25 township vehicles at the building department, the assessing department, the inspectors, and code enforcement, and other departments use. These cars are old, Dave. They're Ford Focus vehicles. They're not extravagant at all. And actually what we did, we had a lease agreement, and then at the end of the lease, I think it was 5 years, we bought those vehicles for $1. So you don't see any fancy vehicles driven here by township employees. I'm not saying they're asking us for better vehicles. It's just an example of we don't need to have the best. We need, in this context, to be prudent so we have money for the next day and the next year and the year after that.
All right. Well, like a good family budget, you've got a rainy day fund, and that's really good news. I don't know that everyone knows, but the federal government can operate with a deficit. But local municipalities, school districts, the state of Michigan can't do that. Is that correct?
That is correct. In fact, if we're in the negative, the state will take over.
Right, so we really don't want to see that happen at all, and that's what communities are trying to avoid. So, listen, I'm glad to hear that you and I've talked to other municipalities on the show over the last couple of days, and we're hearing a lot of good news from communities that have managed their finances well, and hopefully we're going to get through all this. So. That's good news, and I really appreciate hearing what's going on in West Bloomfield. Steve, anything else you want to share with the folks, just any other updates, other issues that people need to be aware of?
No, I think we've covered it, Dave, and I appreciate the opportunity to appear on your show, and thank you, Larry.
All right, very good. Well, thank you. Steve Kaplan, he is the Township Supervisor in West Bloomfield.